Welcome everyone to Fibromyalgia Talks. I'm your host, Necie Edwards, and on today's episode, I have a special guest with me. Her name is Nina Addison. So today, we're not just talking about fibromyalgia, we've expanding upon that. So what we're talking about is this is Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate this time of the year. This is the most wonderful time of the year. Nina and I are both women of faith. And so what we're going to be talking about is for anyone, it's not just for people with fibromyalgia, it's for anyone who's dealing with some type of pain, stress, or grief during the holiday time. And so we're here today just to share with you all what we have learned about it, how we manage our own grief, how we manage our own stress. And then we're also going to have another speaker, and that's going to be tomorrow. But today it's going to be Nina Addison and I. And I'm going to introduce you to Nina. So Nina is someone you definitely need to meet if you haven't done so already. Nina Motivates is a professional motivational speaker, inspirational self-help trainer, teacher, certified life breakthrough coach, author, publisher, and youth advocate. She focuses on helping youth and adults live their best God-ordained life. She spends a lot of time with youth. From teaching through homeschooling helps to being a youth pastor, she's the queen of motivation. And Nina uses her difference to make a difference. Nina is determined to leave this world empty of everything God has placed within her. Besides work, she enjoys spending time with her husband, bonus son, extended family, and friends. And you can connect with Nina and find out more about her at www.ninaaddison.com. So welcome, Nina. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I am well, thank you.
Great. I'm so glad you're here because it's the topic, as I was explaining to you when we were discussing it, is, the most wonderful time of the year. And I thought about that, Nina, because in my office, I have a sign for the holiday that says the most wonderful time of the year. And it got me thinking, and I had to pause for a moment because for some people, it's not the most wonderful time of the year for them. A lot of people are going through things, whether it is a death in the family, sickness, illness, loss of income. I mean, just so many, 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 many things. And I was reminded of that when I walk into my office and I see that sign and I thought, maybe, I should have found something else to put up there, but it's up there. So right now it's there to stay, but I'm always respectful and mindful about, the hearts and minds of other people, because a lot of people are hurting. And the other thing too is a lot of times, we as women, we can be smiling, but just because we may have a smile on our face, you don't know what the pain is.
Yes.
That smile, people can say, oh, she's so happy, she's so easygoing, but they have no idea what you feel like in the inside. And I once shared with a friend, I said, sometimes it's like wearing a mask because people see the outer you, but they don't see the inner you.
Yeah.
How you are feeling, how you're doing. They have no idea how close anyone may be to the edge.
Yeah.
None of that. So, Nina, I've already read a brief bio about you, but I would like you to expand more on about who you are and what you do with my audience, if you wouldn't mind, because there's a whole lot more to Nina than what I just read.
Yeah, that's a lot to me, but thank you again for having me. It's definitely a joy to spread joy because, as you said, this is absolutely the most wonderful time of the year, but it's also a time where people think about all the stuff that they've lost or don't have or going through.
Yes.
It gets darker earlier And
Mm-hmm.
so the days are shorter. And so it kind of makes me feel some type of way. And so that's why I love who I am and what God has put in me and what I do. I like to bring joy. I like to bring hope to people. And I do that in so many different ways. As you said, lots of the ways I do it, through motivating, through inspiring, through training coaches to be coaches, through coaching others myself, through writing books. One of my books is called Victory Over Depression. And so this is a season where I really talk about a lot about that book, because people, yes, depression is real. Sadness is real. I mean, just today we hear about this young, the DJ, very famous. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It can hit anybody. And this very famous DJ that's been on the Ellen show and so many other places
Yes.
committed suicide, So we want people to know my job and who I am is to give hope and to give that motivation that no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your difference, you have a purpose. And so that's who I am. I guess I'm one of the purpose pushers in the world, one of the hope givers in the world, one of the people that's going to show you and prove to you that you can do anything needed, wanted, or desired. Anything that God has put in you, you can do it. And that's why I wore this shirt. You can. It says you can. And so I wore this shirt on purpose because that helps give hope. That helps give inspiration and motivation, especially during this time, no matter what it is that you're going through. I am living proof that you can get through it. And so that's a little bit more about me. I share how you can. I use my testimony of my physical difference. I don't call it a disability, but how, I may not be able to move my left hand much, but I still do anything needed, wanted, or desired. And I don't allow life to get the best of me. Instead, I get the best of life and I teach others how to do the same.
I love that. And, definitely going to change the name of this to Giving Hope and Motivation. I really like that title, definitely better. And when you were talking about the DJ, I did hear that on the news. I thought that was just tragic. And then I heard on the news, I think it was yesterday, about the young man, I think he's in his 20s in Buffalo Grove, who was in the trench, and the trench, I do believe, collapsed upon him. And they had announced on the news today that he was due to be married soon. And I thought about, people who were in the process of planning a wedding, the fiance, the bride to be who's left behind, the families that's left behind. And none of us know how close death is to us, when it's going to be our last breath. We just don't know.
Listen, I was texting my brother on Thanksgiving. We were messaging each other back and forth. And then the Monday after Thanksgiving was 3-4 days later, he's in a coma. And now they're, taking him off of life support. So I am one of the people that's not just at this moment talking about it, but I'm experiencing it. I am experiencing the time where I have to push myself to not just comfort myself and get the comfort of the Lord, but also comfort my family and help my family get through such a tough time. When we just reconnected with my brother, he was missing for almost a year. I was searching for him for almost a year last year, and we just found him in March. And so only to have 9 more months with him, after finding him, a lot of people feel like time was stolen from them. Sometimes when people go through grief and things like that, especially around the holidays, they feel like, they want to bargain. So many different things. And so I'm actually living it. So I like that I'm here to show people that even in tough times in your life, even in tough times in your family, even in tough times in your mind, you have to have a support system. You have to know that there can be better. You have to know that this, as long as you have breath in your body, I always tell people, breathe. You can make it. You just got to surround yourself with the right people who's going to support you, who's going to push you. Listen to the most motivating thing you can listen to. Pray some good prayers. Play the most inspirational songs. And as you see, it's bright around me. Turn on some light. Turn on some light. Put some light around you, because light makes things lighter.
Doesn't it? Yes. When you were speaking, and again, praying for you and your family, and I was thinking about what you said about reconnecting with your brother. And what came to me in my spirit was, you may have lost contact over a period of time, but look at how God during this period of time, okay, you're back. May not be the best of times, but you still get somewhat of that closure.
Yeah.
You know where he is, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You get to pay your respects, you get to say your goodbyes. And some people may look at that and say, but Necie, how is that closure? I for some people, maybe closure is not the right term, but I think of it as closure because had you not reconnected, you wouldn't know where he was. You wouldn't know how he was doing. You've
Mhm.
got however little time you have that. And I have learned the hard way through my own trials and tribulations that life is precious.
Very.
We have to live every moment to its fullest, as if it was our last.
Yeah.
Um, this is December. November of no, sorry, this is December, but October of last year, we lost my sister to COVID. Okay. Um, this year, recently, we lost my uncle who passed away. And when my uncle passed away last month, it was, it had been about 20 years since my mother had passed. In fact, she passed the day before my uncle recently passed, and that's her baby brother. And I was just thinking about, all this going on. And I remember when my mom had passed away about 20 years ago, it was like right before Thanksgiving. And that was a really, really hard time, because I'm thinking about the holidays. My mom loved to cook. She was known for baking sweet potato pies. She loved all that. And she just had so much joy. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm not going to celebrate the holidays. I'm not going to do that because that person's no longer with us. And then I've learned, well, what is that how they would want you to spend your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, as you mentioned, you got to push forward. It's not easy, but you got to push forward. I had pulled up some information and some stats, and the stat states that a sizable 55% of Americans are experiencing sadness and loneliness during the holiday this year, including 35% who says it's worse than last year.
Mm.
And despite what the Hallmark Channel may show us, these holiday movies and all these social media posts might lead you to believe, many people, about 55%, are still feeling sad or lonely this season to at least some degree.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to something you said before I
Sure.
talk about the stats. You talked about the cookies and the pies, sweet potato
Yes.
pies. What I like to do is to do something to memorialize the person
Wonderful.
instead of being sad or depressed. Like you said, yes, they will want you to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you, especially people, listen, they once you get with the Lord, they resting, they peaceful, they probably wouldn't come back to this earth if we wanted them to, right? First. Secondly, they left things to help us to remember them by. And so
Yes.
I like to honor people. One of my grandmothers taught me how to make the best butter cookies on this side of heaven. And so around Christmas, that's all I wanted from her. And so every year, I actually started Nina Sweets from her butter cookies. Doris delicious butter cookies. And so now around Christmas time, that's if I don't bake all year round, I do it here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
around Christmas, I have to bake her cookies. Why? Because that was something we shared. That was
Yes.
something we connected through, and we don't ever want to see our loved ones go. I used to tell my grandmother, she used to always say, "Baby, I'm leaving this recipe here for when I leave Earth." And I was a kid, right? You ain't never leave Earth. Like,
Right.
what do you mean? Just teach me how to make these cookies because you ain't going nowhere. So when she did leave Earth, it was like, oh my gosh, wait, this does happen. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was one of the first times where I really, really realized, wait, that life is not forever. But also now I can remember her by making her cookies. And so I just ask everyone, if you have a loved one who passed on, and think about how you can remember the good times and remember all the things you did with them and all the things
Yes.
they said to you. Like with my brother, he sent us text messages every morning saying, I love you. I can keep all of those messages. I can screenshot them and email them to myself. I can
Yes.
see how much, he shared the love with his siblings and his kids. And that was something that he did. And so now it's up to us to make sure that our everybody else know we love them. So think about the good times. Think about the things that
Yes.
they've done and the things that they've left behind to help you to just keep going on and remembering the good times, even when it's hard, even when your heart aches. Think about the time that they just made you laugh.
Yes.
Just laugh about that situation, and then you're right. Those numbers are so high and it's so true. And that's why I say, get around as much light as you can. Don't be in
Yes.
the dark so much. Don't, if you find yourself, watch your loved ones around you. If you know that somebody is bubbly and they're out the bed all the time, and you notice that they're spending a lot of time in the bed, away from people, not talking as much. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody calling you a lot and they're not calling you, you need to check on them. You
Yes.
reach out to them. We need each other. We're not meant to be alone on this earth.
Mm-mm.
We need each other. We need to connect with each other, cook meals with each other, not always
Yes.
out, but do stuff fun. And so that number can be lowered, but it's going to take effort of everybody paying attention to somebody.
I love that. Couple of things you said about traditions. So make new traditions, because when you were talking
Yes.
about the baking, I can relate to that because I love baking. I told you about my mother's sweet potato pies.
Yes.
I got my love of baking actually from my mother and my grandmother. My grandmother, I was named after her. Her name is Necie. So Necie is actually a family name. So,
Uh-huh.
and I have a cousin, Necie. So my grandmother, she was known for Nina baking all these cakes. And Nina, I can remember when I was about 7 years old being in the kitchen underfoot with her. Her and my mother just right by their apron, just watching everything they did. And one time I decided to surprise them to bake something and they came home. I had like flour and sugar everywhere.
Oh, wow.
But my grandmother, they didn't get angry with me. She just simply said, okay, I'm going to show you the right way since you're passionate about that. And that's something that I still do today. People say, well, don't you be tired when you get home from work? And how do you still do that? But what they don't understand is that's who I am. That's my passion, just like yours, my passion and my joy. Because when I'm baking and even especially cooking, because I love to cook too, when I'm baking and cooking, it takes, when you mention about illuminate that light, it takes my mind off of anything that's sad because joy. Some days I wake up and I can smell my mama's sweet potato pies. I can smell certain dishes she's made. And guess what I
Yeah.
do? I'll get up, Nina, and I'll go to the grocery store and I'll buy groceries to make those meals because sometimes I just want to taste of mama, sometimes to taste of grandmama,
Yeah.
you know. And I think we need to do more about that, more like that, so no matter what you're going through, and I know that's easier to say for some people, but find joy in the little things.
Yes. That's it.
Because sometimes during the day, I'll check in with my husband. I may text him real briefly. I know he's working too, but not to have a whole conversation because we're both working, but just to check in, to say, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Because what I'm mindful of is when you leave home, you pray to God
Yes.
that they're going to be there when you return.
Yeah.
Because I think about people during this holiday whose loved ones walked out the door
Yeah.
and they didn't come back home. It could have been a shooting. It could have been a robbery, and you just don't know. So
Yeah.
don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Don't take it for granted at all. And like you said, something else that was valuable about those people that you check in with, if you haven't heard from them, check in on them.
Yes.
See how they doing.
Yeah.
I hear people sometimes say, oh, I didn't do it because I thought somebody else was going to do it. You be that somebody.
Yeah.
And so what if somebody else checks in? Go ahead and check in with them.
Because multiple people checking in with one person, let that person know that they really matter.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to be the only person checking in with someone. Just letting them
Yes.
know, hey, I'm thinking of you. You matter
Yes.
to me. That's
Yes.
important.
I had a situation at work, Nina, where I was getting off the elevator and I saw this lady. I didn't know who she was. And I says, "Good morning. How are you?" And she looked at me and she stopped me and she said, um, "Are you new here?" I'm like, "Pardon me?" She says, "Because no one ever greets anybody here. Nobody even cares. And you smiled at me and you stopped and you said good morning and you asked me how I was doing." And I said, "How are you doing? That's who I am." I says, "I'm sorry, I don't know about those other people, but how are you?" And it's I can just feel how that just uplifted her day,
Yeah.
because it made me think about something. Some people, nobody ever says, "How are you?" Don't nobody
Mhm.
care.
Yep.
Nobody cares. And I let people know, you matter. I see
Yes.
you. You do matter.
Mm-hmm.
You go to work, sometimes you work in silos. You're over here on your team, they're over there on their team, and the two don't even meet. Nobody
Right.
even talks to the other. Our team at work, we're kind of like spread out on multiple floors. Sometimes what I have to do is just get up and go to where they're sitting, just to say, "Hey, how you all doing today?"
Yeah.
Because to me that makes a difference. It's that connection. So thinking about the holidays, people of all ages experience these emotions. They were saying that Genzers, ages 18 and 24, they're struggling the most this year than any other age group. And both men and women, they say, feel the winter blues. However, women admit to feelings of loneliness or sadness at a slightly higher rate. I think that could be because we're sometimes tend to be far more vocal, where men
Mhm.
tend to hold more of their, emotions in. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. And also it's we're more vocal. People always say,
Yes,
oh, women wear their heart, their emotions on their sleeves and things like that. This season, you see families gathering, you see
yes,
couples together. And so all those emotions just rush.
yes,
You don't want to go to the family functions and then be asked, you still single? And I
yeah,
mean, I did it for 10 years, almost, well, 9 years, where I was single and I was a lady in waiting. And that was the big question all the time. When you gonna get married so you can have some kids and just all these different questions. And so, as women, it's like a lot put on us in that area. Men,
hmm
it's like if you're single and things like that, that's fine. It's something wrong with the women, but if it's a woman like that, it's something wrong. No, it's not. Nothing wrong with you.
nope,
It is nothing wrong with you if you are in a moment of being with the growing in yourself. And because,
yes,
honey, life is not always easy. And when you get
no,
ready and do get married and do have a family and do have kids and stuff like that, it's going to be totally different. And so a lot of single people want to rush to be married, right? And
right.
so I remember being single because I've only been married 2 years as of Monday. So I remember
Congratulations.
being single. Thank you. I remember being single. And I remember around the holidays, like, keeping myself busy and doing different things so that I don't get sad, so I don't feel lonely or
hmm
like I when is it my turn and things like that. I do remember going through different emotions that try to come upon you. You have to find different things to do,
True.
get you a support system, get you some friends, join some singles groups. And even
hmm
if you are, whether you're a woman or man and you are married and you still feel those feelings, then it's okay to talk to somebody. That's
Yes.
another thing that I think is wrong with a lot of people or a lot of things.
hmm
We are afraid to talk to people and say exactly how we're feeling. Women do it more than men. Men has, and people put so much pressure on men. Men feel like they have to
hmm
be the protector and the
Yes.
provider and the strong one.
hmm
No, we are all emotional creatures. And to me, men are more emotional than women. We just show it more. And so we have to all be okay with seeking the help that we need, talking to people when we need to talk to them, whether it's getting spiritual counseling, guidance,
Mm-hmm.
mentoring, coaching, get something, talk to somebody. Don't have all of that on you. Go out, celebrate yourself, take
Yes.
yourself to the show, take yourself out to eat. I remember going out to eat one time by myself, and everybody in the restaurant, the waitresses and everything, looking at me like, by yourself? I'm like, nobody ever comes in this restaurant by themselves. Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
happy and I'm okay. I want to
Yeah.
eat. You gonna sit me down? And so it was like, it's okay to do those things. Like, we have to bring a new norm with loving yourself and with being one with yourself. And once you do that, a lot of times you will find things out about yourself and things that you like and things that you want to do that will make you happy even in these type of times of year. You will love going home. Like me, when I was single, when I first got my own apartment, I was like, let me go home, cuddle up in my blankie and have some hot chocolate. And I am a Hallmark girl. And with the good movies on Lifetime, all the happy movies. I love to
Yes.
watch happy movies. So you have to find what you like and do whole lot of that. I love to study the word. I love worship music. I love,
Yes.
those type of things. Find what you like and do a whole lot of that.
Yes. And the next time you out there taking a break and having lunch or dinner by yourself and they say that, just tell them, no, I'm with three people, me, myself, and I.
I know that's right. Me, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit.
That's right. And what you just said, I was talking to a dear friend about the same thing. I don't know if you were listening in on our conversation or not, but I was saying to her, because what you're talking about is also self-care. And so
Mhm.
she was saying, well, you know, how do you do that when you may not have a whole lot of money? And I says, girl, let me tell you, it's not about having a whole lot of money. I
Not at
told her,
all.
I said, some days I leave work after I've had a long, stressful day. And my place that I love is McAllister's. I'll pop in there, I'll get an iced tea, right? Sweet tea, because I love sweet tea. And they know me, right? Sometimes, Nina, they bless me and just give it to me free,
I
right?
love
I
it.
get good conversations. And sometimes I just go in there and just take a woosah moment and just a little break and sip on my iced tea. And I told her, I says, let me tell you, you can do all that for under $3. She looked at me and I'm like, I'm telling you, it don't take a lot of money to find
Mhm.
joy to take care of you. I also
Yep.
told her, I said, sometimes I pop in the bookstore because I love to read. I says, I'll touch the books. And Nina, you don't know this about me, but some people will tell you that when I go in bookstores, sometimes I tend to rearrange the books on the shelves. Those books
Oh,
that I feel should be front and center, I kind of like do a little reshuffling and putting those books that I feel that are important to the front. You know, I've been
that's
known to
funny.
do, yeah, I've been known to do that, especially if it's something nice, people of color that I feel a lot of people may not have heard about. I kind of do a little reorganizing on their shelves. I figure they got so many magazines and books they won't even notice. So I was telling her I just go into the bookstore and I just touch and I look in the bookstore. You don't have to buy. You can thumb through, you can sit there, you can meditate, you can read.
Yes.
I told her sometimes I go in and I don't spend a thing. It's
Yep.
just me time. Getting out of your head, taking a break to take care of you.
Yep.
Take care of
I go to the
yourself.
library. I take my
Yeah,
students to the library
yeah,
often.
yeah, it makes a difference. I
Mhm.
remember when I was a kid, I lived in the library. And
Right.
yeah, that's what we did. Now tell us about your class. What grade are you teaching?
I actually have four amazing homeschool boys, and I teach two different grades. My
Wow.
son is in sixth grade, and then my other three students are eighth graders. And so that's a program we started called Homeschool Helps. Well, actually, I've been doing it prior to the pandemic. This is year six for me doing it. And I just had one student at first, but then when the pandemic hit, it changed the trajectory of everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so now I have four students, and we want to continue to grow. We want to become something big. we definitely will be opening the school. Okay. So that's in the future. We definitely want to do that. But yeah, so homeschool helps is we take kids that are homeschooled. We have, like I said, we have 4 boys and they are very respectful. When I take them places, people are so amazed at how respectful they are, how knowledgeable they are. We do so many different things from the library to museums to, oh, they love to go out to eat. Today, they went and learned how to make chocolate chip cookies and they learned how to make taffy grapes and all of that good stuff. They still get a lot of the other things. We through a center here called the Croc Center. We go there and they were able
Mm-hmm.
to swim, learn to swim and learn different, have PE class and learn how to do different art and acting and dance. So they get a lot of different things. They're not missing anything from traditional schooling.
Mm-hmm.
I even hired a math teacher because I'm not for all this new school math. So I hired a math teacher that comes in on Zoom and on 2 days a week, on Mondays and Thursdays, he comes and he teaches them on their grade level. So he'll do it by grade level. And so it's just
Wonderful.
awesome. And I absolutely love it. I remember like second grade, I used to say I was going to be a teacher. And so it's just amazing to see how I said something at such a young age. And
And
then
you're
I
doing
started
it.
doing all of these other things in life, but here I am, a teacher.
Now, working with the kids, and I think that's beautiful that you're doing that. I'm also mindful of that age because sometimes they can go through things too
Oh
at,
yeah.
at that age, and they go through a lot. I was
Mhm.
seeing recently about yours are homeschool, but I was thinking about, did you see on the news the other day about the young kid? I don't remember what suburban area that was, where I think he was special needs and they stumped him or was kicking him in the restroom.
No.
And I was just thinking about these kids, how they
Yeah.
carry a lot of weight on them
Yeah.
because this is the holidays and it's hard for many because what if they come from an environment
Yeah.
where maybe mom and dad are unemployed? Maybe
Mhm.
one parent is employed, but there may not be a whole lot of money to go
Yeah.
out and spend a whole lot of money, you know what I mean, on toys and things like that. I
Yeah.
remember when we were coming up, we were always encouraged that the only friend you got is Jesus, and you just have to rely upon God to provide
Mhm.
for you. And I see a lot of kids now that if they don't have the latest and the greatest toy or gadget, like their neighbor or their classmates, many of them feel ashamed. They feel depressed.
Yeah. But what I find interesting is it's all in how they're being raised.
Yes, it is.
And what I like about like the young men I'm around, they all, they get stuff, they have stuff. But we are training them different. And so however you train a youth and train a child and they're put whatever environment they're in is going to help them, help shape them. And so
Right.
we've instilled in them to be loving, to be kind, to spread the love of Christ. And so they go out and they do that. And so even when we're around all these other homeschool kids or other kids from different places, they haven't been talking about like the latest shoes or the
Right.
latest this or the latest that. So I appreciate that. And then also, like one of the parents came up to me yesterday and said, "Hey, my son wants to come to your church," because
Mm,
the youth were evangelizing to him. So
wonderful.
it's like it's all in how you train them and what you tell them is important, and then the environment that you put them in. What type of friends are they having? What is their friend saying? Because if your child is hanging out with the bully, more than likely your child is going to be looked at as a bully. If your
Yes.
child is hanging out with the popular kids who say you have to have all this new stuff, then they'll be doing that. So you have to, it's so important for parents to have a connection, have communication, know the type of friends and people that their child is around, to be mindful of how their child is and the type of person that they are, and make sure that they're building a good character, because
Yes.
that's going to be important, because this society is so different from when I was growing up, when we were growing up,
Yes.
oh my goodness, I showed them a TV today that had like the first flat screen that wasn't totally a flat screen, but it was a big screen TV, but it still had a little hump in the back.
Yeah.
They're looking like, what's that? And so they're so different because all of the things that they're experiencing now, technology and TV, and they're told you have to look like this or be like that. But that's why we have to monitor what they're watching, what they're playing, what they're doing. And
Yes.
don't feel bad for those things. It's not like you are standing over them like this the whole time, but instilling in them those good things and building a good relationship with them so that they can feel comfortable talking to you, so that they can feel comfortable having a relationship with you, with knowing that you're not going to judge them, or you're going to tell them or talk to them. A kid can want a pair of shoes that's more expensive than you normally buy them. So let's talk about this. And then let's talk about budgeting. Let's talk about why. Let's, talk about these things. Communication. Kids deserve communication. And that's why, and I was gonna release it December 22nd, but because life is happening in my family, I will be released in January. I am writing a book called Connect the Dots, building relationships between the older generation and the younger generation.
Wonderful.
If we start with building communications and relationships with them, because they commit suicide too. They go through different emotional and psychotic and mental health. They have mental health issues too. But that's why we have to build relationships with them and know what's going on with them so that we can help make it the best for them. We can help them be their best self, and we can start while they're young. Because a lot of us adults don't even have it as adults, because we didn't get it when we were young. And
Right.
so we catch them while they're young. We can, one, prevent a whole lot of stuff, and two, help nurture the good.
Yes. It does make all the difference in the world. I mean, I remember when we were coming up, I'm the youngest in my family. And
Me too.
you small world, right? A lot in common. And it couldn't be none of this where I'm just leaving the house, I'm going to hang out. It was, who are they? Who are your friends? Who are they folks? Who are their family? Okay, where are you going? What's going on? And they would have conversations with those other families. And, we didn't do sleepovers. We didn't do any of that. They had conversations with those families. They knew them. And if they didn't know them, you wasn't going to be hanging out. You wasn't going nowhere. And, I see all these kids now who have an abundance of freedom where they're out there all hours of the day and night. No, it had to be, you had to be in the house before those lights come on, because if you came in there late, you were in trouble.
Oh yeah.
And you didn't do that, but the kids have so many different influences that are competing for their time. And you said something very key when you said start with them early, putting what they need in them, because there's so many other people out there chomping at the bit, waiting, trying to influence our kids. So how are they feeling, if I may ask you, about the holidays?
My students?
Yes.
They're excited. They are excited. They're not asking for much. For when I talk to them and asking them different things, they're not asking for too much. They are, we take them out and try to do different community service and different things so they can see stuff and see the importance. And of course, we always say Jesus is the reason for the season. So these are young men that's being raised up in ministry where I'm their youth pastor. But we do, we make sure that they're celebrated and things like that. So they've been pretty happy. They're actually spending a night with me, with us next week. And Lord Jesus, they're too excited about that. And I'm like, pray for me. 4 teenage boys in the house.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun challenge.
It sounds beautiful.
I love it. But they are doing well, even with their challenges and the things that they've experienced in their lives and their losses and their gains and things like that, because like you said, they deal with stuff that we didn't even have to think about at their age.
True. Yeah.
At all have to think about. And to start young. Okay. So I that's why I make sure that they have the opportunity to talk and speak and get life skills and things like that. So I don't just teach them book work. They get life skills.
True. Nina, our pastor has passed away, and I used to teach the children's Sunday school class. And my kids in that class Some of them will be like starting at age 4, and they may go up until age 4. I'm going to say maybe go up to age 7. And when Sunday would come and they would show up for Sunday school, I would interact with each one, and I would always ask them, "How you doing? How's everything going? How is school?" Just engage them. And I remember situations where they were going through things that the parents didn't even know. And they would tell me, what was going on with school. If there was somebody that was being bullied, let's say one of my kids, if they were being bullied at school, or if they were feeling ashamed about something, or they would be stressed about something in the home. And I realized that some of the parents, not all, some of them were just so busy in their own lives that they never stopped to ask them and have that conversation, how you're doing. Because sometimes people assume that by them being so young, that they don't have any issues, and that is not true. They have issues. They have concerns. They're human beings. They're seeing things. You'd be surprised. You wouldn't be, because you're engaged with yours, but many parents would be truly surprised if they actually sat down and had a conversation with their child to find out the things that are troubling them. So I know of this one family where the child overheard a conversation about money being tight and was afraid to ask the parents for something for school because he didn't want to be a bother. He got to the point where he didn't want to hardly eat anything because he felt that he was being a bother. And I was trying to explain to them, he's stressed and he's sad about this. Sit down and have this conversation, because you don't want him or her to feel like they've created the burden for the parent, because sometimes kids overhear your conversations when you don't think they're overhearing your conversations. They're listening, and they have feelings. It's just sad. I like the fact how you are engaged and you're helping to shape and mold this next generation of these godly young men that's coming up, and to see how God blesses them and how they go forward. Now, what are some things you think or feel that maybe people can do differently when it comes down to our young people? Because one of the things that I'm concerned about is we're not having enough conversations to talk to see how they are doing. It's just like we just ignore them. We talk around them. I remember when it was mandatory that at the dinner table, you sit down and you eat that meal together.
And that's interesting, because that's what we try to do here often, sit and eat together and things like that. But yeah, it's important. Communication. Communicate. Stop looking at the youth as that's a child. They are growing up to be our future. And so you have to communicate with them. You have to hear them out, listen to them, understand that they need people to just be. So one thing that I have a whole chapter on just being for kids, being authentic, being real, being there, being the same. Don't switch up on them because if you're having a bad day, hey, communicate with them. I'm not having a good day. I need a moment to myself. No people, well, I gotta give no kid no explanation, but they have feelings just like we have feelings. True. Now, you will know the difference between being manipulated by a child versus, this child is really going through something. You gotta be able to discern those different things. And once you discern them, you'll be able to know where to meet them at. You have to, and then people hate this. Ooh. You have to respect kids.
True.
They deserve respect too. People be like, I'm grown, I gotta respect them. Well, how are they gonna learn respect if nobody respects them? True. Respect has to be taught. Just like anything else we learn a lot of things in life as we're growing up. And so during certain ages, it's very important, because those are the years where they're learning character. They're learning how to be. They're learning what's acceptable and not acceptable. They're learning how to communicate. They're learning Learning. So my question to every adult, what are you teaching? Because we're
Wow.
always being watched. We're always
Always.
being somebody's always looking at us. But what are you showing? Are you always
Mm.
lying? Or do they see that you are mean? Do they see that you never have time for them?
Hmm.
Are they, you see, it was back in the day you had latchkey kids. Today you got kids just totally raising themselves.
True.
It's so different.
Hmm.
It's so different. They're not meant to be adults as kids. They're not meant to be your friend, and they don't need to be alone. They need to talk. They
Yes.
need to know that you care. They need to hear I love you. They want hugs, and
Yes.
so we have to remember as a kid, what did I need? What did I want? And when
Hmm.
you pause and you ask yourself that question, then maybe you could be a little more compassionate and a little more thoughtful with the youth in your life.
Wow, that is a mouthful and then some, because what came in my mind as you were saying that is we're talking about the holidays and mental health and everything else. That still impacts children uh,
Yeah.
in such a huge way because their own mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people will say, "Oh, they just kids. They'll grow out of it." You don't always know that. There
Mm-hmm.
are certain behaviors that have been taught where they've got to unlearn those behaviors.
Yeah.
So we've got to get them off, put the right stuff in them, get them off to the right start. I mean, isn't that
Yeah.
what we should all want? Get them off to the right start.
As early as possible.
Yes. Wow. It's so many things that's grabbing them, pulling at them, yanking at them, trying to confuse them, trying to get their attention. There's also peer pressure. There's also problems at home where you got kids running away. I don't know if you heard it where you're at, the young lady that they found in a hotel. I think she was a runaway.
Oh
This
wow.
was, I think, yesterday. I read about it. And I
Mhm.
think this was in Evanston, some other community somewhere nearby. They found her in a hotel. She was a runaway. And when I read about that and I saw it on the news, I was thinking, that's a lot going on there. Kids
Yes.
run away from many different situations. Like you said,
Yes.
they have emotions, they have their own mental health, whether it's something going on at school, whether it's in the home. Um, there's a situation where you may be bringing somebody new into the home environment that may not need to be around your son or your daughter, if you know what I
Yes.
mean. Where you have to take off those blinders and just be mindful of what's
Yeah.
going around you and those that you bring into your space. I was telling a friend, I said, she was asking me, well, how do you celebrate the holidays? And, your sister passed and your uncle then passed. And I says, well, yes, it hurts. I says, because I think about two past Christmases, things
Yeah.
that we've done. I says, but life goes on and I've got to go along with it or you're going to get left behind. I
Mhm.
says, and we're making new traditions. We're still coming together. We're still seeking God. We're still praying. And
Yeah.
in everything that I do, I give thanks to God and I recognize them and the memories, that we share. But that goes back to, for me, making the holidays the most wonderful time of the year. What that looks like for me, what that looks like for you, and what that looks like for somebody else, is totally different. I think about the the seniors who some have been left behind because they may be on their own independent. Some of them may not need to be independent because they're having some health challenges, but you got family, Nina, spread out different
Yeah.
states. Nobody's going to check on them. I just think about so many different things, and I just always say to the Lord, Lord, just have mercy, just keep them
Yeah.
safe from danger, seen and unseen, because we just don't know. We have
Yeah.
no idea. None. Now, Nita, in terms of what you do, uh, I thought back to when I first met you indirectly was on
Yeah.
Periscope. Nina motivates.
Yes.
I remember that back in the day with Perry Girls, with Joe and Fam,
Yes.
and how you would come on. And it's funny how, looking back all those years, seeing you out there on Periscope, and I had a channel on Periscope, and then now here we are. I feel that people come into our lives for a season, they come into our lives for different things, and
Yeah.
it's just a blessing to be able to hook up, especially with women of faith, women who love the Lord, and
Yes.
women who have a good spirit. And I just love everything that you do. Can you
Thank
share
you.
with us more information about how people can support you and your youth? How can they get involved to help?
I would love that. So right now, we're actually doing a huge donation drive where our goal is to raise about $500. I think we are not even at 100 yet, but we're looking to raise this by January 1st for some other educational things that the boys will be encountering come January. And so they can either find us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page, which I can't wait to upload the pictures today of the things that we did today and yesterday, which I'm going to do tonight. But we have a Facebook page. People can look up Homeschool Helps on Facebook, or I think it's Homeschool Helps too on Facebook. And if you look up Homeschool Helps on Facebook, you can follow our journey. You can see a lot of the different things. Necie, again, thank you for sponsoring one of our lunches one day. I remember that. Yes, we
Thank
do.
you.
And so we do a lot of different things educationally, recreationally, as well as socially, to give them the skills that they need to just thrive. And so you can also email us at homeschoolhelps2@gmail.com. Starting in January, the 9th, I believe, we will be doing a lunch Zoom. And so we're always looking for presenters to come on. If people are like, hey, I have a skill that I would love to show you, I have some motivation, I have something, that I want to present to you. We do
Mhm.
that on Mondays at 12:30, starting in January. And so
Okay.
that's where homeschool students from all over the globe can come and be a part and see and meet each other and see how it's so many the homeschool. I'm telling y'all, it's a big, big community. And then also, if people want to give it towards our donation drive, they can cash app us at $ homeschool helps. I want to say it's homeschool helps or homeschool helps too.
Bear
I want
with
to
me,
confirm
Nina.
that,
I'm going
but
to
I
write
believe it's
this down.
homeschool helps.
I'm going to write this down. What is it again?
It is, I want to make sure I'm giving you all of the correct and information. So it is, Cash App is $homeschool helps. Both H's are capitalized. I don't know if it can be seen on the screen.
Homeschool. It says is kind of blurry. Is it homeschool help? HELP?
Yep, HOMESCHOOLHELPS.
Okay, homeschool helps.
Homeschool helps. There it is.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's a little
That's
bit better right
wonderful.
there. And so, and
And
if people follow us on Facebook at Homeschool Helps, if they go to facebook.com/homeschool helps, the number 2, you'll get directly to our page, and homeschool helps 2, the number 2 at gmail.com is our email address, where people can connect with us and find out more. And even I even have homeschool students like, hey, when you all go to museums and stuff, can we come hang out with you? You sure can.
now, I remember, yes, I did support one of your luncheons, and I had a lot going on during that time, sickness and another death in the family, just a lot. And I need to get back to supporting and being a part of that. Now, what about people who work full time who can't jump on at noon? Do you have anything like later in the day, or how can other people support you?
Well, they can definitely like and share our Facebook page.
Okay.
They can, and that's where we'll be posting a lot of different videos and things like that. That's just like open to anybody who wants to just see the good things that they're doing. If you follow us on Facebook, that's kind of like our website right now, Facebook. So if you
Yeah.
go to that page, you will be able to support by looking and following and sharing it to your pages. And also, like I said, with donating and things like that. Right now, that's what we have.
Great. And everyone, what Nina didn't mention is that she is also a coach. She's a life coach that certifies other coaches. I went through her program. I was already a life coach, But when I heard that she was doing a program, I wanted to get behind that and to support Nina. And how I did that was I enrolled in her life coaching program. And let me tell you, everyone, it's phenomenal. And I'm mentioning this is because, yes, we were talking about the holidays, we've talked about mental health and a lot of other things, but listen up, everyone. January is coming. New year, new beginnings. New year, new beginnings. I'm saying it again. So let's say you are someone, let's say you're a stay-at-home mom. Let's say that due to challenges, due to COVID, you don't want to go back into the workforce. Let's just say you trying to find yourself, but in your spirit, God has called you to help other people, help empower other people. I want you to consider enrolling in Nina's program for life coaching. And here's why. Because think about it. A lot of people are not returning to the workforce working in corporate. When COVID hit, a lot of things shifted in the environment, shifted in the communities. So now people are looking at, hey, how can I supplement, right, Nina? How can I supplement my income? So God has called each and every one of us to do something. He's empowered us with special gifts, whatever your gift may be. Okay. Maybe your gift is showing others how to cook or bake. Maybe your gift is just working to empower seniors. Maybe your gift is working with kids. So whatever it may be, consider enrolling in Nina's life coaching program because it's going to give you what you need to launch that business. So some of you may be looking at this saying, well, Necie, I can't afford to quit my full-time job right now. We're not talking about that. Right. Notice I said supplement your income or some people call it a side hustle. Grow that on the side until it takes off with something bigger. I mean, we all can use additional money coming in every month. I know I can. What about you, Nina?
I'm ready. I'm looking. Okay. I'm seeking.
Yeah. So consider enrolling in her program. She's being very modest. She's not telling y'all everything that she's into because besides that life coaching, guess what she also does? You remember she mentioned earlier about the book, but guess what? You got a book in you. Let's say, I know many women, Nina, that's got a story to tell. So if you got a story to tell, how you overcome or whatever it may be, check out your girl here, Nina, because guess what? Besides life coaching, she can help you get that book out. Yes. I got a book that I wrote years ago. I never released. So I'm going to be talking to Nina about that. So I suggest new year, new beginnings, ladies as well as men. I mean, now is the time to really invest in ourselves. I think that's also part of our own self-care because sometimes you find yourselves in situations where maybe you come from an environment where it was a 2-household income. Now you find it's just a 1-house income. Money's tight. So you're trying to figure out how you can help your mate or help yourself to pick up the slack. Okay. That's one way of doing that that's legally done. Yes. Working with Nina, get that book out or become your own life coach. Yes. Hey, she's going to give you the tools you need to do that. Now, listen, everyone.
And we only got 6 spots left for the next coaching list. People are jumping on there. They're seeing the benefit and they say it gets greater later. So you might want to come on and go to NinaAddison.com and sign on up.
And everyone, what's unique about Nina's versus others? Because as I mentioned, I was already a coach before I met Nina, but what I gained from Nina is, see, with Nina, you're getting access to her. When you sometimes enroll in a lot of these really, really large programs, sometimes you don't get that direct contact with the leader of the program. You don't get that. They may have other people where you may have to send them an email and wait to get a response. And sometimes you don't get anything. But Nina, when you meet, because you're going to be meeting once a week, that's how we did it, once a week, you have access to her because she's the one teaching it, giving you the information that you need. So sometimes what you're looking for is in your own backyard. So in this case, what you're looking for is right here with Coach Nina. Nina motivates, and that's who she is. That's what she does. And Nina, tell them how to reach you for the part about Coach Nina.
You can reach me at, if you're like, I want to start off with an email me at youcancoach2@gmail.com, or you could go to ninaaddison.com for any and everything, whether it's you want to connect with me for publishing or you want to connect with me for coaching. Again, there's only 6 slots left for the January cohort. So you want to head on over to ninaaddison.com. Don't sit on it. All the information is on there. When you click sign up, you'll get even more information. And so we would love to have you. Thank you so much, Necie, for sharing your experience. I appreciate that. And we just want to help continue to build you and the skills that you learn. I had someone that's she works as a paramedic, but she works on the airplanes now. And so now she was like, I want the skills for my job. I don't even want to coach people. So you have people that work in different type of social service areas and things like that now wants the coaching certification just so that they can get those skills, those toolbox. They want the tools for their toolbox, that arsenal of tools that I provide. They want that for their toolbox. So I'm like, of course you can get it, but you'll still be able to have that coaching certification behind your name, because you don't have to be certified to be a coach, but who doesn't like certifications?
True.
And like to coach to somebody who says, hey, yeah, I had this training and I do have the certification to prove that I have had the training and that I'm equipped and qualified to do this job. So
yes,
I'm ready for you.
And everybody, you want to get in before that price keeps going up, because I'm telling you, because she's gonna give you some gems, a lot of wisdom information. You may be somebody right now on the fence that's thinking, well, how do I know I have anything that I can teach people? Talk to Nina.
Yeah.
Okay. You'd be surprised. For those of you that may be on the fence because you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not a professional speaker and all that. It's not about being a professional speaker. It's about meeting people right where they are. And like Nina said a few minutes ago, people are always looking, people always watching. I'm sure they've seen and watched you do things, and they looked at you and said, hey, I wonder, how did she overcome that? How did he or she do that? So Nina is the one to contact. And Nina, you have the last word. Thank you for being with me today, considering the circumstances
for
your family, praying for you all. And any last words you would like to share?
I just want to say again, thank you for having me first. Secondly, I just want everyone to be encouraged. Be encouraged. Know that, yes, it's the holidays, and no matter what you're going through, somebody is praying for you. Amen. Somebody needs you. You matter. You are not just a number. You have purpose, and God has a plan for you. When Jesus got up on that cross and got off that cross and got and sitting on the right hand of the Father, he did it for you. He did it for your life, your purpose, and he loves you, and so do I. You may be like, girl, you don't even know me. That's okay. I still love you. Visit me on my website and I'll send you some love. Email me and I'll send you some love. And that way I'll know you for real. But know that you can find encouragement. Get up off that couch. Get up off that bed. Turn on some lights in that house. Turn on some happy music. Go make some hot chocolate coffee, whatever you need, and start just dancing. Just do it. Just do it, because I know that you absolutely can.
Now, see there, not only does Nina motivate, Nina also empowers. She's already told you. And Nina, I'm going to also add to what you just said, while you're making that coffee, that dancing, getting that light, also make a happy book. Think about those memories of yourself and your family. So you may feel sad, you maybe feel a little bit down, but just think about it. Pick yourself up, trust God, but you gotta keep moving, is what she's saying. So, hey, this is Nina Empowers, Nina Motivates, and she does that and a whole lot more. So check her out. Nina, God bless you and your family. Praying for you all. And I'm so glad that we reconnected again, and so thankful that I went through your program. So
me too.
Please come again, Nina. Love you being here. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye for now.
Bye.